So as you settle into a good posture, notice where is your center of gravity. Can you feel as if you are not rocked too far back or too far forward, but that you have a beautiful support pedestal of your pelvis? And allow your body to ground down, feeling the roots, like your pelvis can grow roots. Let the legs melt as best as you can. And feeling the spaciousness of your spine, the openness of your heart. Your shoulders to slightly move back. If you're a huncher, if you tend to kind of round forward, see what you can do to allow the shoulders to move back. Not so much where you're squeezing, just a sense of openness. Let the ears land over the shoulders. Sense of ease through your skull, the base of your skull, your face. Begin to notice your breathing. Don't worry if your breath feels a little restricted. Usually as we practice, we start to shift and our breathing changes. And now we're going to start with this Satali cooling breath. So it's such a good breath to do on a hot summer day. Roll your tongue if you can. Make it like a little tunnel. And then you're going to breathe in through that tunnel. And when you're ready to breathe out, relax your jaw, relax everything for your exhale. And you go at your pace, try to keep the breath as slow as you can. Try not to collapse the spine. See if you can keep that openness that we've cultivated. And while you're breathing, imagine that the coolness that's created by this tunneling effect of your tongue can cool your whole lung field. So that it's not just your mouth that's getting cooler or your tongue, but imagine you're pouring cold water into your lungs. And see if you can just allow the sensation of coolness to kind of expand as far as it can through your body. You're ready to be done. You can relax your shoulders. Feel your breath just come naturally. You might take another sip of water like we did before we started. And place your hands together at your heart. Feel your sternum rise to meet your thumbs. Bow your head and create an intention. Relax your hands. Let's find our way onto our back for our practice. So as you stretch out and lengthen, make sure you have a strap handy close by while we begin. Okay, so lengthen through your body. Feel the reach of your arms overhead. Reach the right side, reach the left side, and just enjoy that side body stretch. Letting your pelvis kind of come offline where one hip reaches up and then the other, kind of starting to loosen your pelvis and your back a little bit. And then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug. You're rocking, kind of rolling from side to side. Circle your knees, rolling in one direction. rolling in the other direction. And then rolling in the third direction, knees coming away from the midline and back in. And put your feet onto the ground. Stretch your arms overhead again, and then turn that into some cactus arms. So try to see if you can let the backs of your hands rest on the ground. Take your feet a little bit wider than hip width, and let's start to windshield wiper our knees left and right. Breathing deeply. I'm going to turn this twisting into a little bit deeper of a twist. So left leg straight on the ground, right knee into your chest. Give it a good hug. Feel free to move around in your feet. You can roll in your ankles and wiggle through your toes. Extend through the spine. Feel a deep compression in your hip and knee, and we're going to turn this into a twist. So grab onto the right knee with the left hand, drop it over to the left, and stretch open through your chest. And you can take a cactus arm, a straight out arm. You can adjust the arm on the ground however you want it to be. Don't worry about getting your knee to the ground. Think less of a spinal, huge movement. And we're just opening up the pecs, feeling your head relax. Good, beautiful spinal twist without over taxing your spine. And then come back to center. Right knee comes back into the chest. Give it a good hug. And then release that leg down. A starfish out. Spread your limbs. Exhale, knees into your chest. Pick up your head. Keep your left knee into your chest. Stretch your right leg on the ground. Give a good squeeze into that left knee. If you want to wiggle your feet around again, go for it. Heavy head. So notice if you have difficulty dropping all your weight into your head. Finding a twist here, hold on to the left knee with the right hand, stretch the left arm out, okay, finding breath, a full breath in, a full breath out, feel into your pecs, enjoy what you're feeling, stretching open your chest. Come back, starfish your body one more time. Big stretch outward, exhale, knees into your chest, pick up your head. And let's go ahead and roll over onto your side and find your strap. Okay, so we're gonna come back into Supta Padangusthasana. You know, we don't always take the time to do this, but it really is such a beautiful thing to do to stretch your legs. So right foot into the strap, okay? Your left foot can be on the ground, or you can straighten your left leg all the way down on the ground. So knee bent or leg straight, whichever feels good. And by feel good, I mean your pelvis is in a neutral place. So when you straighten your left leg, you get a little trapped in your pelvis, then better to straighten or better to bend your knee. All right, so drop your right hip down into the ground. Feel the weight of it. Move your right femur bone away from your right shoulder. Reach up into the strap with your foot. Feel your foot flex so the heel lifts, the toes pull down. Melt the shoulders and head. Find that weight. See if you can feel those oppositional directions of dropping the hip and lifting the foot into the strap. You're going to take the strap into the right hand. Open up out to the right. Adjust your left leg if you need to. See if you can anchor the left side of your body as a stable force that's supporting you so that we're not just listing over to the right. It's okay to soften your knee a little bit more in that pose if it feels good. Keep your head and neck heavy. Allow yourself to just enjoy a simple act of stretching. And lift that leg straight back up again. Take the strap into the left hand and cross your right leg over to the left. Put the
heel of your right hand in that hip crease and press away. So we get into a good stretch in the outer glutes and the outer hip. Be active through your foot, stretch through the big toe and the inner heel, and maybe pull back your pinky toe side of your foot for a moment toward your outer hip, and then move your pinky toe side of your foot away from your outer hip. Kind of just going back and forth between a little bit of inversion and eversion in your foot. And lift that leg straight back up in the air and lower your leg down to the ground. Before we do the second side, just feel your body. Feel and notice what the stretching has given you as far as awareness in your body. Okay, let's switch sides. Left leg, foot in the strap. You can have your right knee bent with your foot on the ground, or you can straighten your right leg on the ground. Your choice. For some of us, a straight leg in this pose is very difficult. It's okay to have a little bend in your knee. Also, let the strap give more, let more out on the strap so that your shoulders are nice and relaxed on the ground. You're not lifting up to try to get to the stretch. Heavy head, heavy shoulders, spine is resting and long. Reach your foot up into the strap, drop your hip down into the earth. Feel the spaciousness in that hip joint, so the whole femur bone is moving away from the shoulder. See what it feels like to pull the toes a little bit further toward your torso. Heel is up. Take the strap into the left hand. We're going to open the leg out to the left. Anchor the right side of your body. Adjust your knee. If you have a straight leg and you'd rather bend it, you can butterfly your knee out to the side, whatever feels stable. Heavy head, relaxed shoulders. Feel into that inner thigh stretch, inner hamstrings, inner thigh muscles. Lift that leg straight up in the air again. Take the strap into the right hand. Cross the left leg over to the right. Feel that sense that we're not, going so deep into a spinal twist as much as we're trying to stretch the hip. So move your left femur bone away from your shoulder. You can even put the heel of your hand in there if that feels nice to you. And then again, let's try to move the foot around. So you can try with a little bit of inversion and a little bit of eversion, and just feel into that whole sideline of your leg. What happens there when you move your foot? Lift that leg straight back up again. And this time we're going to put 2 feet in the strap. Okay, extend your femur bones away from the shoulders. Get your spine to elongate. So notice, if we were doing this standing, or if we were doing this sitting, how would it change, what the shape you're making is right now. See if you can enjoy that gravity is helping us keep our spine long here. Stretch your feet into the strap, widen your feet, root your femur bones. You should have a slight, small, tiny little gap in your low back. Okay, let's take the strap off. Hold yourself here. Start to engage your core. Okay, you can have your arms up in the air or up overhead or out to the sides or down at your sides. Choose a pathway. And then we're slowly going to lower our legs down nice and straight until you feel like your back can't handle that anymore. And at that point, you can bend your knees and bring them toward your chest. If you can make it all the way to the ground, that's great too. Eventually, we're all going to roll over onto our side and come up onto your hands and your knees. So as you start to find all fours, let's begin to move through some cat-cows. Okay, we're arching and rounding the spine. Enjoy this. Enjoy the movement of your vertebrae, the movement of your breath. And then, of course, you can start moving that pose around any way you want. So you can wag the tail or kind of do some circles. You can circle the rib cage. What kind of movement is your body needing today? Right. Curl your toes under so you can stretch open the bottom of your feet, come back towards child's pose. Then come back up onto all fours. Feel free to kind of tap your feet on the ground, so let your toes relax. And let's find a twist here. So reaching the right arm up in the air. Okay. Exhale, sliding that arm under and twisting your spine. Now enjoy your twisting. So this is a great way to start opening up the rib cage. Let your head be heavy and breathe into the back of your body. And let's square our chest toward the floor a little bit more. So pull your arm out a little bit just so you get to stretch the outside of the shoulder. And inhale, reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. Switch sides. Arm lifting high. Exhale to bring that arm through, twisting your body. Breathing well. As you come out of the pose a little bit, square your chest toward the floor, drop back towards child's pose. The arm is still underneath you. Stretching the outside of the shoulder. Reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground, and let's find dog pose. So as you stretch and lengthen through your body, see what it feels like to have that capacity to move your feet again, just like we were doing on the ground. See if you can pedal your feet so that you open up the Achilles, maybe invert and evert your feet a little bit, maybe come up onto your toes, down onto your heels. Just let your feet give way to the ground in lots of different ways. And once you're ready to let your feet be still, spread out your toes, spread out your hands, even some weight across your beds. And feel the rooting, drop down and rise up. Feel the heart lift to the pelvis, feel the shoulders stretch and lengthen. And pay close attention to lifting the femur bones up into the hips and then stretching them back. Let's come forward into a plank. Hold yourself steady here. Feel that integration. Breathing deep. Find the ground. Roll the shoulders a couple of times here. Inhale, cobra pose. Chest is open and free. Exhale and melt back down. Again, rising up. And then loosening and relaxing your body back. Okay. Another bit of an odd twist here. So we're going to take your right foot, lift up or bend your knee, and we're going to swing that right foot over to the ground behind you. Find your chest and open up here. And come back. Lay on your belly again. Left leg up. Twist that foot back behind you. We're going to do this 2 different ways. So first, just open your chest this way. And now we're going to add the twist into it. So hopefully you just got a little bit memorization of where the ground is. Now you can do one of 2 things for this. You can either take your left arm straight out to the side like a T. You can have your arm a little lower. You can keep your arm in any position you want, but the out to the T will be the most intense of this. We're going to bend our right knee, and we're going to reach back with that right foot and put it on the ground. Okay, so hopefully you're having a chest stretch. Again, you can have your arm down at your side a little bit more instead of straight out, if that feels better. Okay, now let's see what you want to do with your right hand. Do you want to lift it up in the air? Find your breath. then relax and melt to come out of there. So it's a very big shoulder capsule stretch. So like I said, if you want to have your arm a little bit lower down, you can, just take that shoulder out of the twist as much as you need to. If you can, arms straight out to the side, right arm straight out like a T. We're gonna bend the left knee, lift it up, and bring it over to the ground behind you. Your left hand can be on the ground supporting you, or if you want, you can lift that hand in the air. I've even seen people interlace their hands behind their back. I don't recommend it. It's a very big shoulder stretch, so just be where you are. And then relax and melt back to center. Come up on tall fours and release that twist out of your body. Okay, we're gonna come down onto our forearms and we're going to take your feet a little bit wider than your hip width, child's pose. And then we're gonna come forward, bring your shoulders forward and then back again. Child's pose. One more time, shoulders forward and then back to child's pose. Find your breath. Make sure your shoulders have released from that last pose. And when they feel released, lift up into dog pose. Find your breathing, round down, root. Walk your feet forward and come to Uttanasana. Let your spine find a full sense of freedom here where you can really open up the back body. If you want to, you can interlace your hands and kind of tuck your chin toward your chest. You can release and grab onto your elbows. Your hands can be on blocks of the ground. Feel free to sway or swish your hips or your shoulders or your head. And then let's find a halfway lift. If you like blocks, grab your blocks, extend and lengthen here. The spine is stretchy and long. Exhale, melt and fold. Climb all the way up, arms lifting to the sky. Open your chest, lean back a little bit. If you want to cactus your arms, you can, but if you want to give those shoulder sockets a little bit of break, just keep your arms overhead and open your chest. Okay, and then release your hands down. Give your shoulders a little bit of a shrug here. Maybe go each direction, kind of rolling them forward, rolling them back. And then shake out your hands. Finding breath. All right, inhale, arms coming up again. Exhale, and floating forward. A halfway lift. Get long in your spine. Melt and relax. We're going to step the left foot back, come to a lunge. And so our right foot is in the front and our left foot is in the back. And let's start to bend and straighten the knee. Just finding our way into opening up those legs a little bit more. Ground your legs now. Feel your roots stabilize in your lunge. And then let's rise up, crescent lunge. Now, maybe you're giving your shoulders a break and you're keeping your hands down at your sides. Doesn't matter. Just be where you are. So many ways to open up your shoulders. This might be a nice one. You can try bringing your palms up in front of you and bringing your arms out to the sides. So whatever feels good. And we're going to find a twist here. So if your arms are up, you can twist with your arms out to the side. You can keep your hands on your hips. You can even take one hand to the outside of your knee, just twisting to the side. Be very mindful that we're not pressing our ribs forward, we're integrating. It might be helpful to soften and bend the back knee a little bit to keep the pelvis neutral. Arms back up. Hands float down, back foot comes forward, fold here. Relax your neck, shimmy your hips, relax your shoulders. Halfway lift, spine grows, feel your feet, spread open your bones. Exhale and melt again. Step your other foot back, left foot in front, right foot is back, feeling into your lunge here. All right, let's start to bend and straighten your knee. Breathing well. Where do you want to naturally find the exhale? Where does the inhale live? I care less about where you're breathing, but that you are breathing and that you're aware of your breathing. Okay, root the feet, find your lunge, stabilize, climb up when you're ready. Maybe you have arms overhead, maybe you don't. So choose a pathway that feels good in your shoulders. Try not to have, rights or wrongs, or I should or I shouldn't. But invite the body, ask the body, what would you like today? What feels good today? Let's twist to the left. Arms can be out. If your shoulder, that back shoulder hurts, try turning your thumb down and internally rotate. You can put your hands on your hips. You can have one arm in front and one hand on your hip. You can put your hand on your knee. So many choices. Just find your twist, stabilize your core. Hug to the midline with your inner thighs. Feel your front foot root. And then come back up, crescent lunge again. Hands come down onto the ground, back to dog pose. Spine grows, find that space. Come forward into a plank. Let's find the ground. Roll the shoulders once you're down there, let things loosen up, and then take your arms next to you, palms facing down. Inhale and lift everything up. Feel the strength of the back of your body. And then exhale and relax. Come up on tall fours. Swish to your spine about. Drop back towards child's pose. And then we're going to come up to stand and take your feet as wide as your mat. Okay. All right, now we're going to find a squat here. See what it feels like to just start to invite some strength in those muscles in your legs. Lengthen your spine forward in a long way. And then decide, do you want your arms down at your sides, out to the sides? Cactus overhead, hands to heart. Find what your body is capable of right now. Ground the four corners of your feet. Okay. Come on up to stand. Okay. Bring your legs together. Find a breath. We're going to kick into some gear with our outer hips. So tip into your right foot and lift your left leg out to the side, a big standing star. Square hips to the front, square toes to the front. Okay. Go ahead and release. Put that foot behind you and come down into a one-legged squat. Okay. Push off. Again, leg out to the side. Find your breath, toes pointing forward. Engage your core. One more time, bring your left foot behind your right and drop down to a curtsy squat. And find your way back. Second side, standing on your left foot, reaching that right leg out, and your arms can be wherever you want them to be. Stabilize with your core. Turn your toes forward. Find your outer hips working for this posture. Breathing well. And then we're going to tap the right foot behind the left. Push off. Back up you go. Finding breath. Toes facing forward. Breathing well. Focus your gaze. One more time. Tap the foot behind you. Squat down. And push up to stand. Take your feet hip width apart. Come down to a squat again. But this time we're gonna have our hands to the outer knees. Our feet are pointing straight forward and they're hip width apart. Press your outer knees into your hands into your knees. Ground through your big toe mounds and pull your feet apart as well. Finding breath. And then rising up. Now you can put a block between your thighs or you can put your legs together for chair pose. Your choice. If when you come into this pose, your knees hurt a little bit, sometimes putting a block between your thighs can be very stabilizing. Come into your chair, choose your arms, back, out, palms together, arms overhead, some cactus arms, whatever feels right. Draw your knees back into your hips. Try not to, with your back, try not to overarch the back or underarch the back. See if you can just have a neutral spine. Breathing deeply. Lift onto your right foot, hovering the left. Slowly stand on up, bring that knee up. Tip your leg out to the side, like we just did, and then a curtsy squat. Standing back, the left foot finds its roots. Back into a tree pose. Not tree pose, sorry, chair pose. Back to a chair pose. Find your breath, put your arms anywhere that supports. Breathing deeply. Draw your knees back, feel weight come into your heels. Then we're gonna drop our weight into our left foot, over the right foot. See how stable you can become. And then when you're ready, straighten up, bring that knee up to the sky. Bring the leg out to the side, toes facing forward. Find your breath. Bring your foot behind, find a bow. And then come back, arms to the sky. Last time for a chair pose, breathing deep. Draw your knees back, find your breath. Arms coming up to the sky. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale, come back. Twist to the left. Remember, arms can go wherever supports your movements. Okay, whatever feels good in your shoulders. Hands up, up onto your toes. Find that last little balance here, breathing deep. Release your hands down, separate your feet to hip width apart one more time, finding that squat. Hands on outside of knees. Ground the big toes and the inner heels. Pull your feet apart, pull your knees apart, resist with your hands. Release your hands down onto the ground. Come back to dog pose. Find your breath. Now let's do a little bit of that same thing in dog pose. Round through the big toe mounds. Isometrically drag your feet apart and feel that whole outside line from your gluteus medius down your IT bands into your shins, the outer shins. And then relax that. Come forward into a plank. Lift your right leg up in the air, just a little bit. Okay. Bring your right leg out to the side. Toes are facing down. Breathing well. Back to center. Second side, left toes, left whole leg lifts up off the ground. Keep your toes facing the ground. Bring your leg out to the side. Stabilize your core. And toes back in. Put your knees down onto the ground. Child's pose. Let your hips relax for a moment. Breathing deep. And find your belly on the ground. Roll the shoulders a few times. Inhale for a cobra. Melt and fold. Take your arms either down, out, or up overhead, your choice. Curl your toes under so you can lift your whole legs up and take your legs wider so the toes, the big toes touch the outside edge of your mat. Inhale, lift your legs. Keep your chest down for a moment. Just lift your legs. And then relax and melt down. We're going to repeat it, but with a little bit of movement. And you can always put your hands underneath your head too. That might be more comfortable. When we do this, just our legs are going to lift. When you lift your legs, start with your toes down and then rotate your whole leg outwards so your toes turn out and then back into toes turn down. Toes turn out. And we're making this happen from the hips, not just from the ankles. Toes turn in, lower your legs down to the ground. Okay, the last bit of this sequence, we put everything together. So upper body and lower body, arms can be down, out, or up, your choice. Lift everything up that you can find full strength in the back of your body. Breathe. And then relax and melt. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees. Rocking them left and right. And coming back up onto all fours. Okay, so we're going to, while stable on all fours, move your hips as far over to the left as you can get them. Starting to stretch, open that outer hip. And then back to center and move your hip all the way over to the right as far as it will go. Come back. Stretch back to child's pose. Settle your hips toward the heels. Breathe well. Lift up to dog pose. Spread open the bottom of your feet. Breathe deeply. Lift your right leg high in the air. Step open. Maybe bend your knee. Breathing well. Square things up again and bring that right foot forward. Coming to a lunge, place your back knee on the ground. Unless, of course, your back knee doesn't like to be on the ground, in which case you can stay in a lunge. It might be helpful to put a blanket or something underneath your knee. Okay, so come into as deep of a lunge as your body can support. So we don't want to be, we want our back leg to be really in a lunge. So we're opening up the hip flexors on that back leg. Finding your breath. Okay, we're going to come into half Hanumasana now. So we're coming back onto that shin. Hands can be on blocks. You can even have hands on furniture if you need a little bit higher hold. Square the hips, drop your right hip down. Try not to let your leg turn out. Toes pointing to the sky. We're going to take 2 blocks and stack them on the inside edge of your right leg somewhere. For some people, that's a little closer down toward the shin. Sometimes it's a little higher up toward your hip. So just do you. Lift up through your spine and we'll start to twist here. Okay. Drop the shoulders, open the chest. Notice if your right leg wants to turn out. Internally rotate. Find the inner spiral of your upper thigh. Hip drops down. Maybe your arm lifts open. Maybe your hand stays on your hip. Lift through your spine. And come back into your deep lunge. And then we're going to change sides. So you can do all of this with your, the half Hanumasana. You can, if you can't, so let's start in a lunge while I explain this. But if you can't be on your knees, you can do a posture like this for the change of what we're doing instead of the half Hanumasana. So you can find a twist without having to put your knee down onto the ground if need be. Okay. So open up through your hip. Feel and enjoy the hip flexors stretching open.
And come back into half Pranayama, or if you're making a change and getting off your knee, do that. Flex your toes, heel is down onto the ground. Try not to let the hip hike out to the side and up. Drop it down and back in. Keep your femur bone and your toes pointing straight up toward the sky. So kneecap and toes lift. For the twist, take 2 blocks. I think it's helpful to have 2 blocks. Maybe you're low enough where 1 block is good. So, but if you need to, stack as high as you need to, and start to twist to the left. Your hand can stay on your hip or your arm can reach out, your choice. Try not to let the hip hike out and up, drop the hip down and in. Toes pointing up, try to have a slight feeling of an inner spiral as the hip drops down. Feel the collarbones open, the spine get long, the shoulders drop. Flex those toes. Relax, come out of there, come back to your deep lunge, open up your hip. Find your way to child's pose. Come up to dog. You can always skip dogs, okay? Reach your left leg up, stack open your left leg, bend your knee. A full breath here. When you're ready, square the hips, bring that left foot forward, shorten up your stance. Hands come on blocks, extend your spine. Parsvottanasana legs. Feel the reach of your heart. Feel the dropping of weight into your left big toe. Pull that left hip back. We're going to turn this into a revolved triangle pose. But one of the things I like to do first is just comes to stand to make sure your spine is feeling really spacious and long. So lift the right arm up in the air, left hand on your hip, extend that long spine forward, bring your hand onto a block. You might need 2 blocks, you might need a higher stack, so find what you need. Again, try not to let the hip hike out to the side and up, drop the hip down and back. Root through the big toe as you reach the hip back. So those oppositional directions, just like when we were doing Supta Padangusthasana on the ground in the beginning. Toes root, hip rises. Twist when you're ready, but only from a long, spacious spine. Keep the shoulders down and open the chest. Finding breath. Relax back. Right foot comes forward, Uttanasana. Bend your knees, let your head relax. Feel free to shake or wobble. A halfway lift. Step your other foot back. So now our right foot's in front. Hands on blocks, Parsvottanasana. Square hips. Root the big toe of that right foot as you reach the hip back. So find those oppositions. Feel the rooting of your back foot too, so you're not losing sight of that back leg. Extend the spine forward. Come on up, bring the right hand to your hip, left arm to the sky. Extend and lengthen forward to come into revolved triangle pose. If you need 2 blocks, stack 2 blocks. If you need 1 block, 1 block. If you need no block, no blocks, okay? Root down through your right big toe, pull that hip back. Try not to let the hip stick out and up, down and in. Root through your back foot to help ground you. Lengthen through your spine. Start to twist on the exhales. The breath takes you here. Shoulder blades down the back, the collarbones expand. Keep that grounding of your feet. Find your breath. Release and relax that. Hands on the ground. Front foot moves back. Last dog pose. Always can skip dog poses. I know we do a lot of them. Breathing deeply. Let's come forward into a plank and feel that sense of symmetry, that we're even through our left and right sides.
Find the ground all the way. Arms down at your sides, out to the sides or up overhead, a full lift. Legs and arms and chest, everything comes up. Exhale and melt, come back down. Onto all fours, swish your spine. Child's pose. All right, so let your hips relax. It's okay if you want to rock a little bit. It's okay if you want to be still. Enjoy your breath here. Come up and onto our back. Your knees into your chest. Feet come down. Choose a height of the block. We're going to take the block under our pelvis for a supported bridge pose. So be in a comfortable place. You can have whatever block you're choosing, whether it's the low or middle height or 2 blocks stacked. Make sure it's across your sacrum. Think less about a big stretch and more about settling your pelvis into symmetry and softness. Breathing well here. Can you let the support of your pelvis help your pelvis to just have something to melt into, fully relax? Hopefully this feels relieving, releasing for your low back. So just see if you can melt the SI joints. And if you feel inclined, by all means, bring your knees toward your chest or lift your legs straight up in the air. Sometimes it needs a little adjustment of the pelvis on the block. So you can do a little traction with your knees in, or you can lift your legs up and give extra weight into your pelvis. Finding breath. No matter what you're choosing to do, we're finding breath. Put our feet down. Lift your hips, get the block out of there. Pelvis down on the ground. Cross your right thigh over your left thigh and bring your knees toward your chest. You can deepen this pose by walking your hands down your shins and grabbing onto your shins somewhere. That'll just move your legs into external rotation a little bit more, so your choice. Release that starfish your legs and arms out to the sides. Exhale, knees and chest come in. Put your right foot on the ground, left thigh over right thigh, knees draw in. Choose where you want to be. You can hold on to your knees. You can walk your hands all the way down to your feet if you want to. So just find the place for the stretch that you want. Heavy head and shoulders. Last starfish. Spreading out your limbs. Knees into your chest, head up, and then perhaps a happy baby pose. Grab onto the feet. If that's not comfy, grab on behind your knees. It's okay to rock. It's okay to be still. And as you find your way into Shavasana, just anything. So, you know, if you need a little something, a different stretch, take it. If you're needing support underneath your knees or head or shoulders or something, you do you. So just find the way to be comfortable for this pose. Let your limbs land where they want to be. Do you want them wide or close or somewhere in the middle? Let your head land, so fully drop your skull. Let each of your four limbs sink. Arms sink, legs sink. Feel the heaviness of your body again. Like beautiful big breaths in and out. Find some movement now, whatever feels good. Find your way rolling over onto your side. And lift yourself up to sit as you're ready. Just take a moment when you become upright. Just recognize that you can bring the gifts of your practice through your day. Your awareness, your presence, slowing down, breathing, being in your body. All these things are available. Offer the gifts of our practice to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.